Yes.
Thanks. Thank you. How you been?
I'm good.
Good. Well, I appreciate
Anxious to see what you've brought back.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you meeting with me again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that shows at least some interest on your part based on what we talked about last time. Just to recap, we at Green Tools would like Subaru, you guys, to consider converting plants to solar energy. And we talked last time about, the benefits of solar energy and specifically the fit with Subaru. Of course, your campaign has been crazy successful as far as love. It's what makes a Subaru. And the one that actually caught my interest was the National Park System campaign that you did on Find Your Park.
Right.
And Love the Earth is part of your campaign. I mean, that whole thing has just been, it's
Sure.
phenomenal, and it's been great to watch you guys grow.
Yes, it's our brand right now.
Absolutely.
We've got the quality of our products, but also our brand is environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
And so anything we can do to enhance that brand is a plus for us.
And the thing I always talk about is keeping a wet edge. Like, what's your next move on that play?
Sure.
And as we talked about before, solar energy might be a terrific fit for that wet edge and keeping that next play in motion. And I know you've had some time to consider the data and so forth that we talked about last time. How do you feel at this point? I mean, are you guys ready to, start working towards implementation or approval process?
Not quite. The data you gave us is very good, and the team has taken a hard look at it. Our biggest issue with this, everybody's trying to be competitive, and as you can tell from just reading the newspapers or watching the news, there is a glut of inventory on lots for automobile manufacturers. We don't want to invest too much money right now that would reduce our capital so much that we start to struggle financially because all of a sudden our inventory starts to stack up because sales slow down. Okay, that's one important thing for us. So the cost of this solution is something that we're very much concerned about.
Okay.
So you've given us some numbers, but I still don't think, I'm not sure the cost equation closes for us
Okay.
at this point.
Okay. Well, and obviously that has to all fit together, or there's no sense in pursuing the plan.
Correct.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm very happy to look through the specific details of the cost with you guys, and we can share information on that and make sure that it comes to a point where the capital expense does make sense.
Sure.
On the one hand, you don't want to run out of capital. On the other hand, with you guys growing and the demand for your product growing as it is, now is the time to invest.
Sure.
In that kind of improvement for the longer term, so that you have more brand equity to leverage over time. And so in terms of the cost, we kind of break it down into two types of costs. There's the cost of actually installing, and then there's the cost of using the solar, right? So the installation cost, the upfront cost, is really the big one that we'll probably need to work through the numbers on very specifically.
Sure.
Okay. Over time, that one is a little bit easier, because you're really comparing your existing cost to the cost of solar. And the data that we have shows that the variability in the cost of electric by coal or electric by petrol, those types of power, the variability is a huge risk factor for companies that need steady flow of energy.
Yep.
Because as we know, over the decades, those costs just continually go up.
Sure.
Sometimes they come down a little bit, but the overall trend is up.
Sure.
With solar, the opposite is true. The more we implement solar power and the more we understand solar technology, those costs have continued to come down.
Sure.
So the volatility of the cost when you're using solar is lower than it is with your current. And so the opportunity cost is actually in your favor to move towards solar.
And see, that's what we need. We need an ROI that's going to close for us, okay? Because as we look at where to invest this kind of money, we can invest it in solar technology to reduce our energy costs, but we could also invest it in robotics, in just more economical manufacturing processes and process flows. So the ROI has to close for us on this.
Sure.
And so that's something that I really need to see from you.
Yeah.
What is our ROI on this from a break-even standpoint? And what does it look like going forward with your technology? You just mentioned that energy costs are fluctuating and they're going up in most cases. When we hit that break even, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Energy versus solar. Does it go like this?
Mhm.
Is it more like a straight line like that? We need to understand that ROI.
Sure. So what we have seen in other plants of similar size and similar demand for the energy is that the break even is about a 5-year break even.
Okay.
So does that fit with the type of capital investment you guys support?
We are usually 3 to 5 years, yes.
Okay. I know 5 years is kind of long for some places. We feel that this is not a one-time investment, but it's actually a shift in your company direction. And for Subaru, it's such a great shift because it supports the whole brand thing that we've
Sure.
already been talking about, more so than robotics or another,
Yeah.
investment like that. At that 5-year point, you should expect to see, and of course, 5 years is a long way out, so we can't guarantee this, but we would expect for you to see your normal cost of energy would be increasing at approximately 7 to 10% a year if you were to
Pretty
stay
consistent.
with what you see. And for solar, we would see that being probably flat. So the increases in your cost of solar would only be with your variable increase. So the cost of actually buying the unit of solar, we would not see increasing over time.
Okay.
And so your gain there is,
So our only gain is 7 to 10% over what we're actually spending today. We see a reduction of 7 to 10%. So if I'm spending, for example, $10,000 a year on my energy, with solar, at the end of 5 years, I'd be spending $9,000 if I got the 10%.
at the end of 5 years, well, so you would be saving that, compounding that
Yeah.
over time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, your energy costs are obviously a lot more than that. So
Sure,
when you
sure.
start talking
Here's an example.
7% of those substantial costs,
Sure, sure.
and the other part that you are saving then is also just that variability,
Mhm.
because we can give you data that shows where solar is consistently coming down.
Okay.
Our staying flat is a worst case scenario.
Okay.
Okay?
Gotcha.
That's what we try to build into that, so that I would love to come to you and say that your energy costs will go down even from a baseline.
Mhm.
And I believe that may happen, but I don't want to promise that and have you be disappointed.
I understand.
So do you think that 7 to 10% savings over time is substantial enough?
I think it's a good start.
Okay.
The second concern I have, though, is does that 7 to 10% savings get then eaten up by maintenance costs and repairing and replacing technology? And
Right.
so if I've got to replace my solar panels every year, or other components of the system
Okay. I
every
understand.
year, every 2 years, that's there goes my savings.
Right. No, and absolutely. Here's the good news on that. I mean, we're thinking the same way you are,
Mhm.
because we don't want to offer you something and then down the road you discover that we didn't think it through thoroughly. That 7 to 10% includes the maintenance of the system
Okay.
over time.
Mm-hmm.
We have done this enough in enough plants of your type that we know about every 2.5 to 3 years, 2.7 years is the average, that we have to do some major maintenance
Mhm.
in order just for upkeep.
Mhm.
It's not that the system is unreliable, but it's just normal maintenance.
Sure.
But it's more substantial than the ongoing thing. And that is built into that 7 to
Okay.
10%. So you're not you're not actually seeing those additional costs.
Okay.
We've netted that out. But for your sake, if you guys look at that in two separate buckets, that's easy enough for me to separate those.
Sure.
I don't have that today, but
That could help the ROI
yeah,
look.
yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got a 5-year break even on the installation costs, and I will give you, what if we took one of your plants and kind of made just that as a pilot example, and I could give you the installation costs on that,
Mhm.
as well as this other bucket of what the cost would be using solar instead of what you're currently using.
Sure.
And just sort of mapped out I don't really like 10-year plans because the last 5 years at least is fiction. It seems like,
Sure.
but we can map something out.
Yep.
Is that fair?
Yeah, what would be great is if you could take a real plant, one of our existing plants.
Yes.
And actually give me the actual costs of the installation with the maintenance and so on included, and my 5-year ROI as your proposal.
Okay.
That way I can take it to the board and say, here's a realistic picture of what we would have
Sure.
with this solar energy, setting aside any benefit that we would see in terms of either goodwill or actual dollar benefit to our brand, okay, increase sales. And that way we would know, we can then predict out if we don't do this, what our energy costs are going to be, and understand what the cost is going to be, what the savings is going to be, and we can make an intelligent decision based on that.
Okay. Okay. So I can get you that. Would you be willing to provide me with specific demand numbers?
Sure.
So that I can do that, and then what your current rate of expenses
Sure.
on that plant?
Yep.
Okay,
We
great.
can do that.
I'll send you a reminder after this
Okay.
and ask for that information, and then I'll start building that.
Okay. How
So
soon can we have something like that?
let's see, today's Monday. If I get the information back from you, say tomorrow, I should be able to, why don't you give me the weekend? I don't want to let you down. So a week from today.
Fair enough.
Okay. Now, if we get to that point, are you comfortable then taking that to your team, and is there anything else that you would need from me to set this thing up positively?
No, if I can show the financial case that says this is a good investment, I will take that to the board and say, here's what my recommendation is, that we proceed with this on this plan as a trial.
Great.
Okay. The catch would be, I'm only one of a few projects that might be presented to the board for this capital that we have available.
Mhm.
So mine's gonna have to be a very compelling argument versus something else.
Okay.
So it's just, this is the only thing we're looking to invest in right
I
now.
understand.
Is my point to you.
Yes.
So the better the case looks to me,
Mhm.
the better I can present it to our board.
So in terms of you having the power behind this that you need, another issue that often comes up as this moves through the approval process with other clients is the idea of the variability of the power, and whether or not, if the sun's not out, do we still have enough power to do
Sure.
the standard? And so one of the other things that I can give to you is this study that talks about the progress that we've made in solar power.
Sure.
That makes it actually feasible from an industrial standpoint.
Mhm.
And what we've done is we have statistically predictable methods of knowing where your plants are,
Mhm.
what the demand is, and what the sun power is. We can
Okay.
predict that. And then we know how much storage to build in, so that on those predictably low sun days, you still have all the power that you need. Does that seem like something that would be
Yeah,
helpful?
I'm sure that will be someone's concern.
Sure.
What happens if we have a week of bad weather?
Mhm.
We have no energy.
Mhm.
So that's going to be something that they're going to want to understand, as well as what if it doesn't work? What if we get all this installed and it doesn't work? Are we then out of business because we've given up our energy from our electric company and we got a solar power solution that doesn't work.
Right.
And we shut down.
Right. And I think, like you said, someone, at least someone, maybe multiples, will have that sort of concern.
Sure.
And it is most common, and we actually recommend that you not stop your electric service because obviously you still need parallel systems
Sure.
for emergencies and especially for the rollover period, as it's not that we cut one off and start the other.
Sure.
In most instances, we see solar become the primary source, but most firms maintain that secondary source as a partial supply for insurance, purposes.
Sure.
We have not had to use it much. I can guarantee you that, and I can show you evidence of that so that you can supply that to your team. But it is the prudent way to go.
Sure. So part of your solution to me, the data you present to me, should include a transition plan.
Okay. And part of that plan will also include for you is that we not only look at how we can supply you solar, but we look at how you could possibly minimize energy needs so that we provide value beyond just getting the solar in place with you.
I see.
We analyze how you're using power and if there are options. It's always nice to have an external perspective on how you're using things.
Sure.
So we provide that as well if that's of interest to you guys.
Very much.
Okay.
Anytime we can reduce our costs by reducing our usage, it's a plus for us.
And it's not there's no consultation fee like you might get from somebody else. We just do it as part of what we provide.
Okay. Fair enough.
So thank you, Mike. I will send the email this afternoon about the data for the plant. You figure out which plant you think might work for that. And then by Monday next week, I'll get back to you all the details, including the cost issues on installation, the ROI and the break even with usage over time, and then the variability and the concurrent plans with other energy.
Sure.
Does that sound complete?
Yeah, that sounds complete.
Fabulous.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.